GG's. Honestly, that is the most tense game of Football Manager I've ever played. So.
No, I mean, look, the only thing that matters is the final score. Congrats, man. And here is why it happened. I want to thank the sponsor of this video. No, stay. This is it's a cheeky way to tell you about something that I'm doing. But I've been invited to participate in the beta of a website called Nexus, which is a platform that links with Steam. And if you buy games through Nexus, I get a cut of it. So I continue to pay Reese, who is just, the sexiest editor around. Oh, yeah. Oh, and the Nexus, it's down in the description, of course. So when you buy games, buy them from the Zealand store. If you want to buy a game, tell me to put it in the store because I only got 10 spots. Cool. So for those that don't know what Football Manager and the competitive scene looks like, it's the Streamer Showdown, which is an invitational. It takes 9 people that essentially make their living, or at least a part of their living, around Football Manager, and invites them to compete in a draft, and then a league, and then a tournament that is seeded by the league with like an elimination playoff at the beginning of it, which, spoilers, we were in. That would be why I'm making this video. The draft, though, it went pretty well. We ended up grabbing a team that we wanted. We had Vardy, we had Holland, we had Neymar, we even had Pulisic. I love you. There's something you might be noticing. We did not spend as big on defense. We did not spend as big on midfield, where people like Odegaard, Eriksson, Souček, and Kondogbia were there. But those are good, but they're not great. And then our center backs were Laporte and then Upamecano or Smalling, who have the combined brain power of, well, let's just say their mentals in the game are not very good. And if Kondogbia and Souček weren't so freaking smart, we would have paid for it more. I mean, I'm still frustrated. Okay. Our initial plan was to play a system that was very similar to what I used with Oriental Dragon on my Twitch save, which of course you can check out on Twitch. Link in the description.
I have had it with you and watching this weird guy on Twitch. I mean, slam the door. You know what? One more thing. You love him more than you love me.
The tactic is like a 4-4-2 with some flair, and it's worked wonders in the lower leagues of Portugal, so I was wondering how it would transition to the first competitive event for Football Manager 21. But the match engine is always different PvP. Like when it's me against Ben, then it's going to work different than when it's me against virtual Jose Mourinho, because, well, Ben parks the bus even more than that. The idea was obvious. It's a direct tactic that looks to get the ball up the field, quickly take advantage of a high line of engagement that allows the 2 strikers, Holland and Vardy in this case, to run the channels, get open, and put the ball away. Terrifying attack with those big names and Neymar and Pulisic, the guys facilitating on the outside. That style at Oriental Dragon worked super well. We've broken goal scoring records in the Portuguese 3rd Division and the other Portuguese 3rd Division. Long story. But it would turn out that our lack of investment and the rather exposed nature of our defense while scoring all of those goals would end up costing us in a competitive setting in a way that it just doesn't against the AI. It started absolutely immediately. Timo Werner torched me for a hat trick off turnovers and counters, getting in behind my defense the way I was hoping to get in behind second yellow cards defense. We bounced back. Now, it took some drama, and we had to come and score a 91st minute goal, down a man to beat, work the space. Then we beat Clates, and we were feeling good, but the problems were already there. And this led to a string of 5 consecutive matches without a win, and 4 of those 5 matches were losses, and the only one that wasn't a loss, we were down 2-0 in 23 minutes and had to crawl back. This led to some key takeaways that are essentially the point of making this video. 1, investment in defense is absolutely key when you're competing against other people in Football Manager. And 2, defensive responsibility and tactics, very important. I went into this, and unlike FM20, where I did win an FM championship in FM20, it's totally not my Twitter bio or anything. Nope. We won that by playing defense, by taking advantage of gaps in the opponent's setup, and by being essentially very positionally responsible, which this 4-4-2 with some flair is not nearly as positionally responsible. But when you look at our schedule, the problem is obvious. We give up at least 2 goals in every single match. Now, scoring is all well and good, and we were obviously looking to score goals, but when you are leaking like a sieve, it just doesn't matter. I mean, there's a table of how much money was spent in each position, and while I went hard on the goalkeepers, I didn't spend the most on defense and invested very heavily in getting quality players in attack. Now, the RNG really came after me on this because Holland and Vardy didn't have great tournaments. They were good. They both scored about 6 goals, but with the amount of goals that we gave up, that just won't do. In the yin and yang and argument and back and forth about whether scoring more goals is more important or whether keeping the other team from scoring more goals is more important, I think we have a clear answer for competitive settings in FM21. I went one way, the answer's the other way. Defense still wins championships. And what part of defense is going to win you championships? We had issues mainly with 2 things. One being turnovers. The ability of players to intercept passes in the central midfield in particular is new in FM21. That was not something, anticipation in particular, that was in the game at all before coming into this match engine. And the way that it plays out is a lot of the chances that ended up going in. As you can see in the opening match against second yellow card, it was clear to see turnover, ball up to Timo Werner, defense is out of position. So players that are responsible and aren't going to turn the ball over is key. But every player in the world is going to turn the ball over at some point. So you need to have players that are in a position to defend that immediately. And countering it, you need to have people that are in position to take advantage of the other team turning the ball over as well. And the other takeaway is where to put your lines. This kind of plays into the first thing. I had a ton of success with that high line of engagement against the AI and a standard back line. Well, this is something that before FM21 I'd never really done before, but it turns out playing actual people, this is still just not something that you want to do, especially if you don't have someone in between the lines as a central defensive midfielder that is able to take away the space that players playing through balls to, say, a Timo Werner would be able to deny. They're just not. So our finances are out of whack. We're conceding goals all over the place, and we don't have a talented defense. This brings us to Sunday, where I'm, of course, in the play-in game because we tanked and then gave up a freaking 91st minute penalty to Ben. That was great. But on Sunday, we had to get through second yellow card again. We did, and we finally found a tactic that we liked in this competitive setting, and that was a 4-2-2-1-1 with wide midfielders, 2 defensive mids, a shadow striker, and an actual striker, which was Holland or Vardy, essentially rotating the 2. And this answered a lot of the problems that we needed. We were never good in the central midfield, so now we were just denying the space to operate in front of our center backs. We had playmakers in the way, and of course the striker and shadow striker to take advantage of quick turnovers, and it worked. We ran it out in the second half against second yellow card and came back and should have won it in regular time. And then against Clates in the quarterfinals, we nearly did it again. We won the first leg 2-0, which, as you might have noticed, is the first time we allowed less than 2 goals in a match the entire time. So we're thinking it's great. But then that money table we were talking about earlier bit us hard because we had center backs that weren't great on the ball or weren't intelligent. One of them in particular being Chris Smalling, and all of the RNG in the world came crashing down on us in that second game. He passed 2 away for us, and Allison cost us a goal by going super far ahead. If you're on very attacking in injury time, your goalkeeper will go up for just throw-ins, apparently. I don't know why, but we discovered that. A very useful thing to discover, so hopefully that saves you. That was it. We were out in the quarterfinal, a champion from last year, and now down into the mud. An 8th place league finish after we've won the league 3 times last year, and then we're down again. So what do we need to change going forward? What do you need to know about playing PvP and things that work the best in this match engine? Bad defenders seem to cost you more than bad attackers. And tactically speaking, if you are going to play something like a 4-4-2, you need to be able to crunch your lines closer. And I don't even know if I'm gonna have the guts to go for a 4-4-2 the next time I step into the Streamer Showdown next month, but I'm definitely going to have some movement between the lines. And the last thing is investing too heavily in one phase of the field. I think we spent too much money on a goalkeeper. Allison did not have the best tournament for me, and it was consistent over the matches. It wasn't just one match or 2 matches, or me blaming him for going up the field when obviously the match engine just kind of got weird. But the amount of money that you can spend to get a goalkeeper that can do the job well, there's a lot more money available to go to the rest of the team. So I think we'll be looking to pick a more balanced squad. You don't need Holland and Vardy, because I don't think you can use 2 strikers and be completely responsible in this match engine. I just don't think you can. The small amount of spending on defense just doesn't make sense considering the value that speed has in this match engine. And if I just cut down the spending on the goalkeeper and put that money into the defense, I think we could have had a team that could have won the entire thing. I've got some more game study to do. I've already rewatched these matches one time, but before we get into the Streamer Showdown again next month, I think there's a lot that can be learned from the mistakes that we made in particular approaching the FM21 match engine. So if you're playing your friends, whatever, I hope this helps you out in, beating them. Maybe don't, well, show them this video, but after you beat them, we'll compromise. Okay. Something that our second tactic here for Sunday used that our tactic on Saturday didn't as well. Players that end up where they're not supposed to be based off their position seems to be really successful in this match engine. I'm talking inverted wingbacks. I'm talking inverted wingers, inside forwards, those types of players, a shadow striker. Somebody or a false nine, somebody that ends up in a spot where they're very different from what their starting position is, even a regista coming out of defensive midfield. The defenders do seem to struggle to track that because the increased off the ball movement ability of offensive players in the game means that players that are shifting to these different spots are more deadly than usual, and players that are told to hold their position are less deadly than usual. This inherently makes the ability to move and move well more valuable in FM21 than FM20. I honestly live for this, and you either win or you learn, and hopefully you do both. And eventually you're going to be on a quote website, and there's going to be quotes around that, and it's going to say dash Zealand, and people are going to be like, who the is that? It's gonna be... And then I'll be sitting on my rocking chair like, well, yes, I used to make quotes back in my day. We used the internet. Imagine what they're going to be using then when I'm in a rocking chair. Just kidding. I already kind of want to be in a rocking chair. Not relevant. I'll see you on the next stream and at the next streamer showdown where we put these things into practice. Because we need a second trophy. I mean, Walujo has 5. We need a second one. We'll get it. This kind of decompression video helps. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Zealand podcast. Reese, what were you doing? You slid into my DMs when I was 50 viewer Andy, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy.
I am going to attempt to find the first DM you sent me. February 28th, 2020. Today on What's Your Story, we talked to YouTuber and streamer Dr. Benji, who has lived a life that's carved him a position as a streamer and creator of a game that nobody before him really streamed or created around. What's that life like? All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm really flattering myself thinking ladies are listening to this, but anyways, ladies and gentlemen.
1% maximum. 1% maximum. It's not a chance.
Those are like my YouTube analytics. Welcome to 20 Good Minutes.